wakafamba nawo manje varara pano nadhuweda wakafambwa nevamwe muri kuona vana maiguru vangu vari apa vana hama dzedu apachina dzakafamba asi yakanga iri nyaya yekuti katirwire nyika iuye tichingorwira zvinhu zvikuru zviviri. Chekutanga tanga tiri kurwira kuti tanga taona one man one vote, tigouya tozozvisarudzira vatungamiriri vedu. Varungu vangu vaine qualified franchise vakanga vainayo munguva yerudishi. Chepiri tairwira ivhu iri kuti toda ivhu redu ridzoke. Zvimwe zvatakazoisa pamusoro dzange dzanguva zvisukuru zvekubatanidzira kuti zvinhu zvifambe. So ana comrade Kangai ndovakanga vari vakatanga dare rechimurenga nana comrade Chitepo. Zvino hapachina kwangosara tofunga vari vagumbo ndovafaundi ndovasara varipo vazhinji vakaenda. Macommanders vatakanga tinavo vazhinji vese hapachina. Ende tiuya ndichienda kuhondo ndakatakurwa naComrade Charles Dauramanzi murume wamaigura ndo akatitakura tatakurwa navazvina vashe. So nhoroondo yacho kuti rwadzei vazvina vashe ndo vakatitambira. Asi kubotswana kwatakapfuura nako Comrade Dick Chikara ndo vakanga vatitambira tichibva kuno kumusha. Vese vatikutaura apachina vakaenda. Vana Comrade Kangai Kumbirai ndo vakanga riri dare rechimurenga, ndo vakazoumba kuti kuzova neuto rezanla rakanga riri richigwa pakuzoita kutsaukana pakati pepato nevarwi. Kana vakanga vari kunguva iyoyo rifunga makasonzwako taingotungamirirwa kavane vakanga vasina kutrena vana Noel Mukono vanga vari masecretary for defense vakakondotonga vasati vapinda. Saka unonzwa urungano rwacho kanga uri kutaurwa runenge rwunhu rwakareba. Manje pakusara vazukuru vana handiti ndinofara kuti ini maramba makanguchengetedza rungano rwechi rwana baba namai. Tavapatira apa kuti nyika igoenderera mberi govakwa igoita Zimbabwe yatinoda. Hatifanirwi kukangamwa runganiro, hatifanirwi kukangamwa tazuro zvitsvuke zviita sei, tinganakedzwe tikaita sei. Asi chatofanira kuziva nechekuti nyika yeZimbabwe yakadimuka ropa, nyika yeZimbabwe yakatamburirwa. Saka vese vakarara vari mumasango vasina makuva, vatisingazivi kuti vakaradzikwa papi, vakafira ivhu iri rakadzikira, vakafira mureza wedu uyu watinofufurutsa. Ndosaka chiramba tichirakidza kuti ruvara rutema rwevanhu vatema, ropa vakareuka ropa. Pfuma iyo kana ichiona green iyo ndozvatairwira tichiona masango aya, kozoya maminaralo edu aya akaitwa neruvara rweshora rweyero. Saka kana tikange taakuona iko zvinhu tinopembera kana tichiona maiguvarara kuti basa ravo vakaita sei vakaita. Asi imi masara emi vana nevazukuru muchazvikwanisa kuzviendesa mberi here?
That you'll be looking for. Right. Professor, let's see if the situation is improved. Can you take the mic now? Professor Majuku, can you hear me? Right. I think there's an issue with his mic. Mofutitis, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Uncle Murise.
Muse, right.
No, we're doing good. Thanks for bringing this conversation to the people.
You are, yeah. We are going to go into the Q&A, session, unless if I get joined by Senator Jensen Timber, who I want to involve in this conversation as well. So, but in the meantime, Honorable Tendai BT, he has gone, he has given us details of some of the events that have happened, and Professor Lavoma Duku was talking to us about some of the strategies. Professor Maduku, can you hear me now? Let's try this one more time. Right. I think he's struggling. Honorable Tendai BT.
Hello?
Oh yes, yes. Hello, yes, Professor. Go ahead.
Yes. Are you hearing me? Is it clearer now?
Yes, Professor. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's much better now.
All right. I had only, when I ended, I had just wanted to emphasize that we have, as Zimbabweans, the court system, which is part of the state system. We must know that courts have a role to play, and we must utilize them. So there must be, like we have already started, litigation left, right, and center. There are so many societies who have come out of serious situations through the intervention by the courts. In this case, we have a clear constitution on what should happen in the event of any attempt to amend term limits. And then instead of all this unnecessary framework, let the courts come in, or we have this unreasonable framework that has been adopted by Parliament, where it calls something public consultation when we can all see that it is not public consultation. Right? Instead of fighting and going to war and so forth, let a court pronounce that. Then we only have problems once these people start disobeying court orders. So if things are very straightforward, courts must come in, and then we deal. We at least clarify what the problem is. We know that the law does not permit because the courts would have said so. Let us see how they behave. If we are lucky that a court speaks and they have no option but to um, comply, then we would have solved a lot and we would have preserved the integrity of the nation, and we would make progress that way. That is the point I wanted to add to what Tendai Bit had said in detail. I would rather then leave it to the questions and so forth. I'll be able to participate in that regard.
Oh, thank you very much, for that. I want to appreciate you. Remember, guys, we are also live on Resistance Radio Station, .org. I'll put, the link in the comment section. If you're struggling, to hear me from this platform, you can always come through via Resistance Radio Station, .org. You can click on the link. It's there in the comment section. So, to Mofutitas and Chieza, we want to do the Q&A session now. So, what I would suggest is to bring in people or three people at a time, right? You choose three. We choose three people at a time, and then they come in and ask a question, one question, so that we can be in a position to be accommodative of others as well. Is that okay, guys?
That sounds good, Ango. That sounds good.
Yeah,
I've got
cheers
a
right there. Yes, right. Cheers, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sounds good to me as well.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. But I want to kick it off. Right. I think let's just kick it off us three, and then we open it up, to the others. I want to kick it off. This question I want to pose to Honorable Tendai BT. You've spoken about the things that you want Parliament to do. For instance, to say they should not be allowing the president to append, his signature once, whatever it is that they're doing now, goes all the way. But do you believe, yeah, okay, because they failed to run a credible consultative process at this moment. So do you believe there is that institutional capacity or the political will in this parliament to do these things that you're saying you're going to be asking our parliament, to do? And if they fail to do, then the next processes will be what? I leave it to you, Honorable Chinabit.
Yeah, well, I think the Constitution is straightforward in Section 328. If a bill is removing a term limit, or if a bill is extending someone's term, it must be taken to referendum. Therefore, the president cannot sign that bill into law before it has gone through to the referendum. Therefore, it's only right to ask the parliament and to hold them to account to the fact that they must follow the law. After all, if you look at Section 116, part of the function of parliament is to protect and uphold the Constitution. So they have no discretion in the matter. The question is, if they don't do that, what do we do? And I think we've provided the answers, Prof. Maduku and myself. The mass mobilization is allowed by Section 59 of the Constitution, and of course the legal
process.
The two are not mutually exclusive, or are they mutually destructive?
Right. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mof.
Okay, I think thanks. Thank you, Uncle. Thank you, Honorable Tenai. Thank you, Amaduk. So I think I've got one and a half question. So the first one, I just wanted, maybe I've just been speaking to some people, and people have been asking, just in simple terms, how do we differentiate, this amendment about the ZDF? It says, I think on the 2013, we talk about the Zimbabwe Defense Forces is to protect its people, its national security and interest, and to uphold the Constitution. Yet the proposed one, it says in accordance with the Constitution. So if you can, please just simplify to say, that sounds very subtle, but what exactly does that mean? Because people have been struggling to actually understand the wording. And the half question that I had is, in terms, we know this amendment bill has got various amendments that are being proposed. Is there a chance that, say, the final outcome, they can actually cherry pick some of the elements that are on the bill to be made into law, and some not, or it just comes as a complete? Because obviously there are some elements that people are saying they are okay with, and some elements that people don't want. So is there any chance that they can cherry pick that? So those would be my questions. To either of you gentlemen.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. I think I wasn't hearing anything. You raised two questions.
Yeah, so okay, let me try to summarize them. So the first one I asked, it was about the amendment about the ZDF. So there's the wording which says, I think the 2013 inotaura kuti to uphold the Constitution. Yet the one they are proposing, it says in accordance with the Constitution. So for a layman, could you please try and simplify what's the difference? Because the wording sounds subtle, but can you just simplify, what's the difference in that wording? Then my second question was to ask, since this bill has got different amendments, is there a chance that they can cherry pick some of the elements to make it into law? Or it's either the whole bill goes through or it doesn't? So can they cherry pick some of the elements that say the people are okay with, and then the other elements are not picked in? So those are my questions.
Okay, those are technical questions. We can easily answer them. The first one, which has to do with upholding, which is in the current Constitution, and then the suggestion that it be in accordance with. You will appreciate that in trying to amend, there is clearly the difference. They would not have sought an amendment if the two things would mean the same thing. I think we should agree on that. So those who are amending, they are really making two messages. The first one is that they are putting in a weaker version, because when the Operation Restore Legacy came about in 2017, it used the expression uphold, which was then according to the way it was interpreted, quite open-ended, so that it allowed the army to do anything more or less, as long as it was reasonable. Like in that case, they intervened when they said that they claimed that Mugabe had abdicated his responsibilities. There are people who were usurping the powers of the president. He was allowing his wife and those other people surrounding him, blah, 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 blah. That could easily be justified under uphold. In the same way that now, if the army were to come in and say that Emerson Mnangagwa, what he's doing already, what has happened already, even including what happened yesterday, and even including the suggestion that he wants to preside over such a process where the constitution clearly doesn't allow, he shouldn't benefit. All what is happening now, the army can easily intervene using that. So they want a situation where, according to them, the army would not come in using a constitutional provision. I think that's the element. So they are trying to undermine the role of the army, but at the same time using that amendment to send a message that the army must not think that it can do certain things which are not in line with what the government wants. So to disown the role of the army or the military of 2017 it's a very cynical way of going about things. So I'm sure you answered. It will create a very big difference legally between those two formulations. Then politically, it's also a bad message for these kind of politicians to simply rubbish institutions and sound to be very important by claiming that we want to tell the army where it starts and where it ends. Because that's what that amendment is. It's the most arrogant display of power now. I mean, they've forgotten where they came from themselves. And so they're just rubbishing the army there and nothing more. Then in terms of the other question you asked, whether they can disregard this, okay, they can then not pass everything, etc. There is now a decision, some judgment of the Constitutional Court that seems to suggest that they are allowed to drop some things there. And then, so it doesn't have to be the whole. They might remove, let's say, something like on the Gender Commission. They can drop it. There's a judgment of the Constitutional Court that suggests that they can do that.
Right. Thank you for that, Professor. Right. Uncle, is it who's on the Constitutional Defense Forum? Is it? Yeah, please, you can go ahead and ask your question if you do.
All right. So I'm on the Constitution Defenders Forum handle. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I think I will direct this question to either one of our speakers today. So in terms of what we are now seeing, I know the major sentiment that the majority of ordinary citizens have had is that the crisis in Zimbabwe has been a leadership crisis. I feel it has been more of a fragmentation crisis, and with where we are headed in terms of way forward after disengaging, what are the prospects of seeing a broader alliance moving in unison towards, effective mobilization of citizens, re-engaging, vitalizing or incentivizing citizens to be personal, to be invested in terms of, speaking out against these proposed constitutional amendments. So I think that is my question. What are the prospects of a formation in terms of seeing a broader alliance that attempts to push this back in terms of the constitutional amendments? And perhaps as a second question attached to that, as somebody who has monitored some of these public hearings before, but in terms of a different proposed legislation, I remember it was the Private Voluntary Organizations Bill, which is now in act, which was passed, in April. One of the things that I realized is that